Welcome everybody to the YouTube Mile Builders Tuesday night show. I'm Johnny Reb, and tonight's show is with Miles Hale. And I gotta get my screen back off of here. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway, I'm Johnny Reb. I got Miles Hales here, and I know the schedule said that this was going to be his layout tour, but I'll be honest with you guys, Miles has been really busy this year, been on the road a lot, so he's really hadn't had a whole lot of time to work on his layout. So he's kind of wanting to do a little bit about video recording. So, but he is going to use his layout for demonstration purposes. So you are going to get a look-see at his layout. And this thing's not streaming.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Okay, it should be up and streaming. Because you don't see anything there, do you?
I don't have it on, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I should be streaming.
I don't know if I can get it here on my cell phone or not.
I went back and reset everything.
Yeah, if I turn that on, though, if I turn that airplane mode off, it's liable to ding, so I don't want to do that. I don't know.
Well, crap. I don't know what's going on here. Alright, guys, if y'all can hear me, I'm having a little technical difficulty here, so I am going to have to restart this thing, see what happens. Let me refresh here. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that was on my end. I just had to refresh this. I let it sit too long, and it wasn't picking it up. But anyway, this is the YouTube Mile Builders Tuesday night show. We've got Miles here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him because he's got a really good show for us. And we'll have a midpoint break where I will be doing a little advertising. So there's one advertisement in the show, but we're going to run about an hour. If you got any questions, please put them in the chat so we can give them to Miles and have him answer your questions for you. So let me get over here and do this. Alrighty. There's Mr. Miles. How you doing tonight, Miles?
Not bad. How you all doing?
Doing just fine.
Well, I wanted to do this show as much on the video portion as I do on the layout. And I had a couple of complaints from some of the viewers out there that I wasn't going to do the layout tour as promised. But I do want to say that we set that schedule actually almost a year ago now. And so it's hard to anticipate what's going to happen 11, 12 months down the line. But I will do some layout tours. I'll put the camera around and we'll take a look at what I have done and what's happened. I have done a bunch since even the Train Masters feature that was inside the layout. So some things have been done and we'll take a look at those. I'm going to use some of those also to illustrate my points for this evening. What I want to talk to you about is model railroading has so many facets. And that's what makes it a wonderful hobby, because you can be a photographer and photograph models, call yourself a model railroader. You can be a photographer, photograph real trains, call yourself a model railroader. You can be a structure fanatic, a locomotive fanatic, a rolling stock, a layout, a scenery expert, whatever aspect you want to take on, electronics, whatever, you call yourself a model railroader. We all do. And I certainly have called myself that now for a couple decades anyway. But nonetheless, as we evolve in the hobby, we begin to take on new things that we want to learn about. And that's one thing that I'll admit that I get older, I want to make sure that my mind stays active and that I continue to learn in the hobby. And when I had a chance to work with some of the video elements of this hobby, and this started about 10 years ago, I really got hooked, and I got to the point where I had to have this and had to have that. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. And I want to explain that I think we have a super modeler amongst us. She has been interviewed on this show on YouTube Model Builders, and that's Kathy Millett out of England. And Kathy just did one of her recent broadcasts on mistakes. And she's a magnanimous person to admit. And I try to do the same thing when I teach as well. But nonetheless, I'm not necessarily magnanimous. I just try to do the same thing. And I think she's wonderful to have done it also, to point out the mistakes that we've made. And lots of times in classes, those that have been in classes with me will hear me say, do as I say, not as I did. Because what I did, it was a mess. What I'm telling you is from experience having messed up. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. One of the very first videos that I saw was a guy sitting just like this, and he was talking just like this, and he had his model out in front of him, and here were his hands behind the model. And the whole video was done that way. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? I couldn't see anything that was going on. So we won't use the term bad video tonight, but it wasn't engaging. And it certainly wasn't an item that I could really learn from. So one of the very first videos that I did was to take the video camera, put it right over my shoulder, looking right down at my cutting mat, where you could take a look right at my hands and see exactly what I was doing as I worked. And I think that's a key. The first thing we have to say as model railroaders who happen to be making videos is, what is the subject? The subject is not us. The subject is the model. And if the model doesn't show and doesn't do well on our videos, we're probably not going to get viewers to come back and look at our models and our modeling skills and the things that we want to promote within the hobby. So what do we do to make our videos really entertaining and really present what we want to the general public and get them interested in our hobby? And I think the first thing that we have to do is we have to determine what you want to do as a main course. Do you want to do something where it's live streaming like we're doing tonight, or do you want to make videos that are instructional videos, like so many of us have out on our YouTube channel? And I really want to do both, but they really do not sync 100% across the board. I might use different things to accomplish one task rather than to accomplish the other. So the first thing I want to do is kind of divide this up a little bit and talk about live streaming, what we're doing right now tonight. There are a lot of ways to live stream, and this is a hotbed. Over the top has been used. It's a term where we're not going through a standard television channel to get to you. I'm not. I'm going direct in the internet. You're looking at me on the computer. I don't need to put advertisements in or anything else. I can give you pure information straight through. I bypassed all the regular news channels and everything else that's going on, PBS, which I think is wonderful, but we've bypassed it. We've gone over the top. That's where the term comes from. And we're streaming live. There are a lot of devices that will allow you to stream live. YouTube certainly affords that. That's the medium that we're on right now. Now, we could stream without even going through YouTube by going to Ustream and some of the other services. And a lot of those are available direct. Some of them cost money and some of them don't. You just need to take a look at what works well for you. For us, YouTube works pretty well, works very well, in fact, and I'm perfectly happy with it, so I'll probably stay with it rather than trying to go out and learn some other system to work by. But as we have learned this evening, and as we've known on many broadcasts before this, sometimes it doesn't work exactly 100% the way we want it to, but that's beside the point. They are giving pretty good resolution. I hope you're getting a good picture tonight as you look here. And I've got an overall camera on. Now, for streaming, you can use almost any camera. And I'm going to change to the tabletop camera here. This one is, hope it's in focus.
Yeah.
Check and make sure it is. Does it look good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. If not, we'll play with it a little bit. All right. So what I have here, let's do the white sheet. And that's white sheet's not very good. I need a white sheet. Let me get something else here as a background. Should have been prepped better. But we got one over here. This is my webcam. And that's what YouTube really wants to see, or Google wants to see, in order to be able to use a camera and broadcast through the YouTube or the Google system. Because PCs or the Google system has to see a USB connector. Now, that interjects a little bit of a problem. This camera works absolutely great. But when I go to using, let's say I get fancy and I take my DSLR camera here, which is a much better camera with a much better lens, and I want to stream with that. Well, I can't necessarily do it very easily if I turn it around here. See where the connection is. You may not be able to see it, but we'll open it up anyway. This has an HDMI cable out of it. Well, HDMI is not recognized by Google, so this camera has a problem. It will not be seen by my computer, and I have to do something about that. So the first thing I did was I went out and I bought this little guy, and we'll get it up a whole lot closer so you can read it and see it. There we go. It's an Ultra Studio mini recorder from Blackmagic Design. Blackmagic Design has an awful lot that we can use in our broadcast. What this does is it takes the HDMI signal in. If I turn around here so you can see it. It's got an SDI and an HDMI connection on this end, and those are inputs. On the other end, I have a Thunderbolt or USB type output, and it has a USB plug on the other end of that cord. So if I plug my camera, my HDMI in here, and then plug my USB into my computer, I'm in business. Everything's working fine. Drawback, $300. So not a cheap way to accomplish it. So how did I go about accomplishing it? Well, I bought this, obviously, and obviously we're not using it tonight. So what are you using, Miles, if you're not using that? I'm using a thing called a Magwell. The Magwell is just about the same price, but the difference between the Blackmagic and the Magwell, as far as I'm concerned, is this one works, yes, but it takes a download of extra software, and it takes some manipulation with the computer to get the computer to recognize this and the camera. It was just a whole lot of work that I didn't want to go to, and I didn't consider it because of that reliable for me. Now, that doesn't mean that this isn't reliable. It means that this PE major, who doesn't do electronics very well, was not confident in how things were going to go. The Magwell was literally a plug and play. I plugged it into the camera, I plugged it into the computer. It's worked ever since, and it's doing, as you can tell tonight, a beautiful job. Again, though, $300. Now, beyond that, then, let's say that you want to do something else beyond one camera. And especially in live streaming, it's almost a necessity. So tonight I have, and I'll change up here with my controller to show you. We had the original camera we were on. We're on this camera on the table now. An overall shot of the layout inside, and a close-up inside the layout, and we're back here to the table. So I have 4 cameras working right now, and they're all working through a switcher. Now, I can do a switcher from China. This one is an HDMI, and this is a 3T01 switch, and it has 3 inputs. Hope you can see that if it's not too blurred. There we go, 3 inputs. Yeah. I have an output here that's going to go to an HDMI. Again, I have to have a Magwell or that Blackmagic to convert this HDMI signal, but this thing was only $29, and guess what? It comes with a remote. Even better yet. If I get it out where it'll focus, there we go. Hopefully, come on, focus on me. Thank you. And 3 buttons on here so I can control the cameras. Now, a little video terminology along the way. And I'm going to brag for a minute just so that you know that I'm not some physical education major trying to teach you how to do videos. I actually had a company after I stopped teaching in San Antonio that did special effects for television commercials and film production work for almost 20 years, and worked with a lot of stars out of New York and California. They all came into Texas to film various commercials and films. So a lot of work from behind the camera, not very much in front like I'm doing right now, but I had an awful lot of time behind. So there are an awful lot of ways to get around having to spend a lot of money to get production work done. You just kind of need to use your head and learn some of the technology as you go along. What I'm doing tonight, when I change from this camera to this one, is I am doing what's called a cut edit. It's live, it's going pink, pink. It just chops it immediately. If I were to do a mix or a dissolve, it would go like that, a little softer. Now, why do you use a cut and why do you use a mix or a dissolve? All right, to an editor, normally, if the flow of the content of the show is perceivable, in other words, you're looking at me here, you know that you're looking at the table camera here, so when I change, you know that you've now not moved around the room, you just moved from a close-up view of my table to a far away view. So I can cut edit. If I were to go and walk into the other room, I would be far better off to change it to a dissolve or something that indicates a change in time or a change in place. Okay? So if I was going to make that move into the other room, and you'll see it in a little bit, I'll change it over to dissolve on the first move that I make, and we'll dissolve to that other camera. It'll give me a couple seconds to get around the corner, although it's going to take me longer than that. But it'll also indicate to the viewer that I'm moving someplace, I'm going someplace else. So cut edits are the normal edit. Dissolves normally indicate a change in some kind of circumstances that's going on with the camera. This guy, the cheaper HDMI switcher that I got from China, does only cut edits. When you switch that, it's going to change from one camera to another. So you need to keep that in mind if you're going to use that you need to keep your action kind of centralized and looking like it flows from one place to another rather than jumping all over the place because it just won't flow very well. Okay, so switchers. The next thing up from the $29.95 is a big jump, and I'm sorry, but we can go to software that's in the computer. And I'm going to swing this one around. I'm not sure which one I'm on right now, but we'll bring this one around.
Yeah, you're on the...
Yeah, we'll go with this one, and I'm going to tip up so you can see the console over there. This is my broadcast console that I normally use, the one that I was setting in front of when you first came into the room here. And what I have here, I'll move over. What I have here is down in here, I have a standard PC computer. I have my switcher here, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I've got a speaker, which allows me to hear you all and Johnny as you do questions. I have a 4-up display here of all 4 of my cameras. The red one is the one that's on. You can tell because it's the same view you're looking at. And this is my output that's going out to you all out in computer, YouTube land, whatever. I can change cameras here at the controller. I can also change cameras from my iPad. Nice feature. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so on to the next thing, which is the software that you can buy. You can get some stuff called vMix. That's VMIX. And it is for a PC only. That's why I have a PC down here working right now tonight. And the first stage of vMix is free. You don't pay anything for it. It allows you to put 2 cameras in. It gives you all kinds of dissolves and green screen, and we'll talk about what that is here a little bit later. It gives you almost anything that you would want to do in a live production. To me, the drawback to it is that it's made to be used at a console like this. They do make a program that you can download and put on your iPad and be able to change from one camera to another off of that. But it's not as obvious. I'll show you my iPad here in front of the camera for a second. On my iPad here, I have all 4 cameras. I have controls that will allow me to, we'll just do a dissolve there. Let's wait, okay. I have audio controls here. I can switch over. These are all my cameras with my audio and my mics. I can delay my sound. If you notice my mouth is moving, the sound is actually coordinated. This will actually delay it, and I'm delaying my audio 10 milliseconds behind the video, so that when you see me talking, my mouth, I'll lean in here, my mouth actually moves at the same time that you're hearing me. So it's pretty sophisticated. The vMix will do the same thing. It will allow you to delay the audio and put it together exactly with the video, so that the person talking doesn't look like he's, you know, off someplace else, or the mic's a million miles away. So it's pretty sophisticated program. It goes all the way up, and I should have done my research a little bit better. I think the one that I wanted to buy of the vMix programs allowed you 4 inputs. It gave me a lot more capability. It upped it to 1080p, which is the broadcast level that I would like to be at. Unfortunately, YouTube only gives you 720. But there are levels at $60 and $100 and $250, and then I think it jumps up to $400 or $500 for the Pro model of vMix. So vMix spans a large gap in there in terms of money, how much you want to spend to do live production. The next step up, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is the Cerevo Live Wedge, and that's what I have here. This is what I use for a switcher. Lon Stedman, who does a lot of reviews on YouTube, has reviewed this and given it really good marks, along with several other people that have reviewed it. It obviously works with the iPad. You've already seen that, so we don't have to talk about that. Does all kinds of delays. I have 4 cameras that I can put into it. It will allow me to green screen. It allows me to put a picture in picture. It allows me to do a lot of things. I really wanted one that would do a little bit more, until I got one that would do a little more. I actually hooked the vMix up at one point, and I'm back to using the Cerevo Live Wedge, and I'll tell you why after a little bit here. There's also Blackmagic ATEM, which is exactly the same as the Cerevo Live Wedge. It is $1,000. This one's $1,000. I should have told you that. $999. So is the Blackmagic ATEM. It's also a 4 camera input. There is one out from Roland called the V1D, which is also $1,000. Has 4 camera input. The problem with the ATM and the Roland, as far as I'm concerned, are that they do not allow for the iPad control or for tablet control, which to me is a biggie, because I can walk around as I do my live broadcast, and it allows me to be the director, the producer, cameraman, and be able to switch all the time while I'm talking, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Next thing up is Data Video and NewTek, and they go from $4,000 up to $10,000. So you're really getting expensive when you start to use those types of programs. They offer a lot of extra things that we don't really need. They're devices that are made to do sports broadcasts for high schools and colleges. They have replay cameras, PTZ cameras, which are the cameras that are remote controlled, all part of their software. So a lot of things that you can do. I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Anyway, okay. So that's pretty much the ones that are available to you and I as consumers for switching. Now, a quick word, it's taken me forever to say. It used to be that it took a broadcast truck and $500,000 or $1 million worth of material, or a full-blown TV station, to do what this little box does. To do 4 cameras and to be able to switch back and forth and do wipes and dissolves and cuts. And I mean, we're talking about incredible technology that's been brought down into a 6-inch by 12-inch box. It's only maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick. That's incredible. The drawback here is that when I was working and making a living behind the camera with my special effects company, stand up for a minute. That was all really nice and cool and everything else, but I was one crew member in probably what was normally a 20 or 25 man crew there shooting one 30-second or 60-second commercial, or even a 10-second commercial. You had a producer, you had a director, you had 3 or 4 cinematographers, you had a chronographer to keep track of things so that they, you know, if the talent walked off, they walked back to the same place. They didn't walk back with a different color shirt or whatever it happened to be. There's all kinds of people that go into making commercials work. That's my point here with live streaming. If you're going to live stream, and this was pointed out to me dramatically in the first time I tried it over at Larry Alfred's at the start of the year. I had one cameraman, that's me. I had one director, that's me. And I was trying to interview these people and talk to them. At the same time, I'm trying to run cameras, switch, move cameras around. You may be far better at it than I am, but it's a very difficult task to do, to be all of those characters all rolled into one and keep things moving at the same time. And that's why I called Andy Crawford. That's probably the best show we've done all year long. It was done at Russ's house over in Louisville, and I had 4 camera operators. I had Andy acting as a director. He had the iPad and was doing the switching, and all I had to do was interview Russ. I had to do what I consider to be my job, which is to present the talent, the guy who's actually making the railroad. So herein lies my problem. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, a town with over 40 operating railroads, with probably 60 or 75 really dedicated model railroaders, all of them very good. And I don't think there's any of them that I could get to come over here and work tonight, because they see this as time away from their modeling time. And I don't blame them. I do too. It's just that I've made the decision that I really like doing videos and being here and talking to you and being a part of the video portion of our hobby. But so many people are not caught up into this yet. And that's one reason for our program tonight. I hope that I entice you to make videos and to be a part of YouTube Model Builders, or at least to promote the hobby through videos. So that's my point on live stream. I should say it directly instead of hinting at it. If you can't get together with at least 2 or 3 of your friends or more and make a crew, then it's really not worthwhile to get a switcher and to be able to switch back and forth to these cameras. You really need a team to make it work and make it work well. So enough said on that.
I'll tell you what, Miles.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a break here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
You want to do a couple Q&As?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, okay, we got one here. They were asking about a green screen.
Yes, sir.
You want to explain that a little bit, how the green screen works? Or
Yes. We did a green screen last time, 2 months ago, over at Steve McKee's at the opening. And if you give me 1 second here, I'll run back and I'll get.
Well,
hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, okay. To answer another question about editing software, Windows has a decent video editing software. If you're on Apple, Apple has a really nice editing software. Myself, I use some software called Pinnacle Studio, which you can pick it up for right around about $130 for the ultimate package, which gives you unlimited video tracks and audio tracks. But they do have cheaper packages. They're a little bit limited, but for the kind of videos we do here, they would work really great. They have a lot of neat features for transitions from one screen to the next. A lot of really cool stuff, special effects and everything there. So that was just to answer the question there.
Yeah, this is a green screen. This is just a piece of green cloth which is sold as a green screen. This is what we used at Steve's. I hung it up on a couple of photographic stands, and we stood in front of it, and we actually did the green screen effect right there. So it's a very easy effect to do. You just need to have the right color green, or you can also do a blue screen. But again, you need the right blue screen color in order to make it work.
And you're using the green screen for what reason?
When I want to take and put myself someplace where I'm not.
Yeah.
In other words, we had one camera set up, and that's what I was going to show you here a little later on, but we'll jump ahead. Come on.
Oh, that's okay.
That's right. This is set up looking at one of my buildings. And what I could do is green screen and literally put myself standing on that platform. Even though that building is old, well, I'm going to wind up being about 1.5 inches tall.
Yeah. But yeah, it's if anybody follows Kathy Millett at the end of her videos,
Yes.
she has the different Kathys of all different sizes, and I
Right.
think one of the Kathys just finished a little episode out in space.
Yes.
She kind of got herself. That all that is done with green screen.
Yes.
She has to imagine the scene that she's going to do, and then she'll make all the movements in front of that green screen.
That's
And
right.
then when she gets that done and recorded, then she goes back to her editing software and brings that back in and puts it into the scene that she wants to be in.
Right. And the only difference here between live streaming it and recording it is the software. You're doing it live action rather than being able to go back and do it in the editing room.
Yeah.
Same technology, same idea.
Anything special about the lighting, Miles, when you're doing a green screen?
Yes, there are all kinds of things, and here's where I would recommend that you go out and see some of our friends out on YouTube. There are all kinds of videos out there on how to do green screen work. But basically, you want to do some type of side lighting for the talent, that would be you or your guest or whoever, and you want to then side light the green screen behind those persons, of course, keeping the lights out of sight if at all possible, because shadows cause problems. So I don't want shadows. If I put a shadow out here in front, it's going to throw a shadow right back on my green screen. Not good. But if I put it from the sides, I don't get a shadow back there. Same thing when I go to light my green screen, I'll light it from each side and I get a nice even light, hopefully. The more even, the better and easier the green screen. Now, going to some of those higher end live streams that we've already talked about, and in the second half of the show here, I'll talk about how you do the same thing in editing, like Johnny was talking about with Pinnacle. But in the live stream programs, NewCheck, Data, a lot of these have an extra thing with their green screen, which is really nice. And that is, if I was standing here, and I'll move over to the center, if I was standing here in a green screen, I can actually bring markers in right up next to me here. I can bring a marker in from the top, a marker in from the bottom, and it crops out everything out here. It would just show me by myself. And then they also can size. Now, that's something I cannot do on my Cerebral. I can't size myself. I would have to put the camera far enough back away from me to make me that 2-inch size, or appear to be that 2-inch size, when I jump into the model scene. But a lot of these softwares in editing now, when we get away from live stream, Pinnacle, Final Cut, those things, they will allow you to do the same thing, crop in and then size the person or the thing. That you can put a thing in there too. Anything you put in front of the blue screen or green screen, you can put into the scene. So I could take a rocket or an engine and put it in there the same way I can do a person. Doesn't matter what it is, just as long as you can get something green or blue behind it. But yes, lighting has to be very even. You throw shadows, it throws the whole thing off, and it makes it very hard to accomplish.
Yeah. Tell you what, we got another question here, but we're going to go ahead and take a break because it did run over a minute or two.
All right. Teaser, when we come back, we're going to take on doing editing.
Yeah. All right. Tell you what, Miles, you want to flip me over to the layout room there just so I got a background screen, and
Sure.
we'll go ahead and you want to mute your mic out and take a run.
Talk to you in a minute.
All right, guys, gals, appreciate you coming in tonight. Just want to let everybody know, go to YouTubemodelbuilders.com. There you can find the schedules for the Tuesday night shows, the live shows, and also the e-mag. You can sign up for the e-mag, so when it comes out, you'll get an email, notifying you when it's out. The e-mag is a PDF publication, which means you can read it pretty much on a lot of different devices, so it doesn't matter where you're at. You'll have the e-mag there to read while you're waiting for something. And JD and his crew, they have really been putting out some great e-mag magazines. And this is going to be our last Tuesday night show for the 2016 year. We're coming in 2017. As we've already announced, we do have some changes coming in. We got a new show that's going to be starting in February. I believe that's going to be February the 7th. Yes, it is. February the 7th. We're going to have a fine scale build show. And I know it says fine scale, but what that means is we're going to be working building wood kits. Not so much craftsman kits, and we're not doing museum quality work. This is so people can see how to build a wood kit, what all's involved, and really how easy it is to build a wood kit. I know a lot of us, myself included, I've tried building some wood kits and had the usual problems about them warping and not coming out exactly the way they were intended to. So this show is going to help you out a whole lot on that, help you cure a lot of these problems that we have when we try to go at it on our own. I think everybody's going to enjoy that. We're starting out with the C&O sectional house. That's BTS kit, and that is 27654 is the model number on that. So if you want to get the kit, it's $39.95 straight from BTS. You could probably find it a little bit cheaper on eBay, I'm not sure. But it's really a nice little kit. It's a good starter kit. So you if you want to buy that kit and build it along with us as we're building on it, we plan on taking about 2 months, maybe 3 months to build it. It's going to be a live build. Miles Hale is going to be in the show, so is Andy Crawford and Barry Rozier. All three of them will be building the kit. Here we go. Miles just happened to have one handy there. Thank you, Vanna White Miles. Appreciate that. And oh man, but yeah, I can't hear you, Miles. I think you're muted.
I said we are live,
Yeah. But anyway, we'd like for y'all to make your comments on that show too. Let us know what you think about it. And also, we're going to show you 3 other kits that we've picked out to build after that. But we want you to let us know too if you have a kit. Whatever kit comes up the most, if we choose that, that'll be the one we choose. So the show's for you. Like Big Bill says on a live show, we do this for the viewers. So you guys got to let us know what you want to see. And there is going to be a change on the Tuesday night shows next year. I've decided to change the airtime on the shows because of staffing, and people have jobs, day jobs, and this is volunteer. Doing it at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern is pretty late for most of our staff members. So I'm going to push it up 1 hour. They said that works a lot better for them, makes it easier for them. So starting 2017, the Tuesday show only for right now, see how it works out. It's going to be aired at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So be sure and check your time zones on that. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Miles.
Okay. Well, I mentioned Kathy Millett early on in the show, and I do want to say she's really doing a great job. She has changed her format, well, almost a year ago, I think, and she started to add an awful lot of close-ups now to what she does, because in her editing, she can go back and cut to those close-up shots, even though I believe, unless she's changed, she's shooting everything on an iPhone, actually. And one of the things she does, you okay? Okay. One thing that she does is she has a very nice microphone that hooks onto that iPhone so that she can get a much better recording. And that's the first thing that we want to talk about. And I hope that tonight we have not had any audio problems. I have changed dramatically over the years, and that's the first thing I want to talk about is audio, because it transcends across both live and edited programming, where you're going to make a DVD for YouTube and talk about how you built your models. So I'll change back over to this guy, but we need to get him turned around a bit, like back onto the table, hopefully. I'm on down. There we go. If we're not on that camera, we will be. Okay, we are good. I told you I thought Kathy did an absolutely fantastic show, and she really did, from a standpoint of talking about the mistakes that she made. I have made a ton of mistakes, and it had cost me a lot of money. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is do as I say, not as I did. I did some programs early on with a guy in Independence, Missouri. I wasn't living here at the time. I think I was in San Antonio or someplace, but they brought me up here. And I did some brass painting videos for them. And he gave me this set of microphones. It's a Samson. It is a lavalier type. I've already changed the microphone out on this because it went bad, but these did not do too badly. And we still use these when we go to conventions because they're about 20 years old now. They're still VHS in terms of frequency. They work very well, and they work very well for presentation work. I'm not using them tonight, and I'll show you what we are using now. But these are pretty good. And I tried these with the video cameras. They did not too badly. Could have done better. The video that I did on my YouTube channel with the convention in Australia was done with an iRig, and I should take my, I use a lot of these Velcro strips to hold things together. This is an iRig. You can see it in a lot of different magazine ads and whatever. It has an XLR input, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That is a high-end microphone input, much, much better than a standard audio plug. And then it puts out to your iPhone with the 3-conductor, I believe it is, 4-conductor plug that you need to go into your iPhone. And this is not all that expensive. It'll get you one microphone. The nice thing about this is you can take a handheld microphone like this Samson, and it doesn't have to be a Samson, it can be any of them. This one I think is only about $29. It works like a champ, and I have gone to it sometimes on the earlier shows when I had trouble. And it has an XLR input. So an XLR cable, plug it in, and I'm recording on my iPhone at the same time I was recording. Actually, we shot that whole video on an iPad, but nonetheless, same idea. And these work very, very well. Why does an XLR mic work better than one with the audio cable? Because there's a voltage that's put on to the XLR. That's why it has 3 contacts. One of them is the ground, one of them is the sound, and the other is this voltage. And that kind of cuts out any pop and hiss and interference and whatever that you would get from a lot of other microphones that don't have what they call phantom power on them. The one that I'm using right now, the wireless one, has phantom power here to my battery pack. It also has power from the receiver back to the switcher where you're getting the signal from. And that's one reason why I think it does a much better job, excuse me, in the sound that it gives. Okay, so what else can we do? Well, another way to get sound without going to the lavalier is to use a shotgun. The shotgun mic gets sound coming straight in, and it tends to reject any sound that's out away from it. So you point this at your subject, at your talent, or at yourself. You can mount it on top of your camera if you like. There's a mount here that will go directly onto my hot shoe on top of the camera. And wherever my camera points, my microphone is going to point, I'm going to pick up that sound. It's very good at picking up sound from only one direction. And it's pretty much controllable. The other thing that we can do is we can use the lavalier type. This one happens to be wired. This is a Shure mic. It's the little guy right here, which is very similar to what I have on right here. Get over in the camera. And this, again, has an XLR. It's made to be a wired connection. So I put this on. It's got a little belt hook. Hook that on your belt, but you have to have a wire back to the camera. But this is a much cheaper option than going with the wired. A Samson wire, the wired mic, try it again. The wireless mics nowadays run anything from $30 up to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a wired set. When you go to the theater and you watch these high-end singers, dancers, whatever, musicals, that kind of thing, they're using mics that probably are $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 each. I can't afford that, obviously. This microphone actually is about a $600 mic, and that's about the limit of what I'm willing to put into mics. But I think it was well worth it. It's giving me good sound. Okay, so the other thing I did then, I had a different problem. But this, in making my videos, I had a problem in that Barry Silverthorne, the guy at Trainmasters, didn't like my voice because I would be talking away to the camera and then I would look down to model. And all of a sudden, as you can probably tell, the sound level changes dramatically from here to here when I drop my head. So what we came up with to solve that problem was I took the microphone, the little lavalier, and I've got a piece of PVC pipe, or not PVC, piece of evergreen styrene pipe here that has the microphone mounted right out on the end of my glasses. So now when I put these on to do videos, that microphone is out there right on the end of my glasses, and wherever my head tilts up or down or whatever, the microphone is exactly the same distance away from my mouth. So this makes a much better recording, and this is what I actually use for my recorded videos. Does a super job. Let's see. Okay, that kind of gets me on mics, kind of, sort of. We'll go to this guy. The other thing you can do then is if you have several mics, is you can go to a mixer, and this was the first mixer I had. This one's about $39, $49, something like that. It has 2 XLR inputs. I have all kinds of other inputs over here in 1/4-inch jacks. It's actually an 8-channel, but I was only interested in the 2 XLRs. To me, this was a lot of control. It was very confusing to me because I'm not an audio engineer or whatever, and I really had trouble getting this thing to work. If you're into audio and you really study it a lot, it might work very well for you, but it is a good mixer. But even at the price, it just didn't work that well for me. So what am I doing now? Okay, let's I'll do a little swap to that camera. And forgive me, I'm going to do an absolute no-no. I'm going to pick this thing up and probably give you a headache as we move, but I'll try to move slow. Down here in my console, I have 2 tube amplifiers. These are only about $39 a pop, but they do extremely well because they have just a couple of controls on them. I can put phantom power on, which I've done here, but they're extremely easy to use and much easier for me to learn and to control than it was to use that big mixer. So
right,
what works for you is the important thing.
Yeah, Miles.
Okay, so that gives us into amplifiers. I still am amplifying. I'm still controlling that sound that I'm putting in to give to you. But, you know, that apparently is part of the game, is to try and play with this sound and modify it a little bit to make it better as you hear.
Yeah, Miles.
Yes.
Let me ask before you get too far along. You're talking about phantom power so that people kind of understand that a little bit. that's where the microphone, the wired microphone, plugs into that amp, and it's getting its power through the amp, right?
Correct.
Versus a
And
USB.
actually, my battery pack here is giving it a phantom power. They say 48 volts, but most microphones only use a few volts. It's just enough to keep any interference or pop or whatever from getting through the wiring.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk cameras for a minute. I have finally migrated to the point to where I have 3 matched cameras. I did that after watching several videos and people talked about matching. I talked with Barry at Train Masters again about matching. It's nice to have a high-end DSLR like this guy that I showed you a minute ago. This is a 6D, and it's a pretty high-end Canon. It's not the top of the line, but it's a good camera, and it does a pretty good job. John and I were talking about DSLRs a little bit ago. That's a single lens reflex, which this is normally used as a photography camera. The new DSLRs will shoot video. One drawback with almost all of them is that they will shut down. Now, this one, which is a 6D, it shuts down after about 30 minutes, but whereas my 7D, the camera I had before this, shut down because it got too hot and it took it an hour or more to cool down before I could do it again, this one doesn't get too hot. It just simply shuts off because it wants to start a new file. And Johnny was saying his cameras do the same thing. They go about 17, 18 minutes, they shut down, and then they start a new file. But his only drops 1 frame or so. It does it almost automatically, changing from one to another. So DSLRs offer some problems, excuse me, if you're going to do long recordings. So be aware of it. But they are very, very good cameras to use for recording. There's a card in here that I can record to. So when I'm doing videos for instruction, I certainly can use this camera. What I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to balance all my cameras. And if you look as I switch around here, I'll switch real quick for you. Almost all of them, if I get myself out of the way, almost all of them are balanced as far as light levels go. That's one advantage that I get with having balanced cameras. Now, the camera that you're on right now actually is a camera that's a little less than $200. I got it off of eBay. It is a Panasonic. All my cameras are Panasonic. That's immaterial. You could have all Canons or you could have all Nikons. I don't care what brand you pick. I just picked one brand because then the codecs, the software, the programming that camera puts out in its SD card that I'm going to use to edit on, it's always the same. If I had a Canon and a Panasonic and a Nikon, I'd have 3 different software programs trying to fight each other, and it makes it a lot more complicated. So by sticking to one manufacturer, I'm much better off. The little camera that I have on the thing, and I'll turn around here so you can see what we're doing there. And we'll do a little, come in. Hopefully, maybe if I can get it to focus. There we go. Did it for me automatic. I'll give you a view of that. That's the little camera that I'm on when I'm talking to you. Not very big, but it does an absolute super job. It shoots out at both 720 and 1080, and it does shoot at progressive. And that's another thing. The video gets more and more complicated the further into the show we go. But you're a little bit better off, according to everything that I've learned on the internet, to shoot in progressive or P, 1080p or 720p, rather than to shoot interlaced. It just works a little bit better for what we're doing as far as our videos. So you may want to take a look at that and make sure that your cameras are all set up to shoot either 720 or 1080p. I went through a bunch of different cameras. Go back to this guy so you can see what's going on. Come back in here. There we go. Okay. Got to get you back down to the table. Sorry about the changes, but this is where I don't have a cameraman, so it's you kind of have to put up with one guy doing everything. This is a little Sony action camera. This is very, very similar to, if I get in the center, I think it'll focus better, maybe, hopefully. I don't know.
Mm.
There. It's an action camera very similar to just a GoPro. Sony makes one. I think Canon makes one now. GoPro, of course, has been on the market for a long time. This thing shot absolutely fantastic video as far as I was concerned, but some of the viewers out there, you may have been one of them, I don't know. It obviously has a very round and wide angle lens, and some of the people complained that it was distorting as it went out to the edges, that it was not seeing things exactly like it should be seeing them. So I didn't find it offensive, but some people, some of the photographers out there didn't like the fact that it was giving me a lot of distortion out on the edge. So whether or not you're going to use one of those GoPros or some of those cameras that may have distortion out on the outside, you have to look at them and see. When we get in tight like we do on models, that may be more effective in distraction rather than being an attraction. So one thing that you want to be very careful of. I brought up the little camera because it has a problem. It shoots great video. It's great for live streaming right now. But the minute I turn that camera on to record, I want you to see what happens. Whoa. Now I'm recording. I see my picture in the camera, but you see nothing. And that's one big disadvantage with that camera, is the fact that when I put it on recording, it blanks out its feed that's coming out. So I cannot live stream and record at the same time. I'm either going to record or I'm going to live stream. The way around that is to go to this guy. And that is another thing from Blackmagic. This is a recorder, and this guy has HDMI in, HDMI out, and it has a hard drive just like the one in your laptop computer. This one has a 240 gig. So I can plug this in from my camera, plug this out to the live stream, and this guy will automatically record everything that I have on my live stream. Not inexpensively, but you can do it. The other thing that I consider to be very, very important in doing videos for instruction is that you are able to see what's going on in the camera. Now, I can see right now the camera and I can see the viewer, but sometimes that's not very easy to do depending on where the camera is, especially if it's the one that's up here over my head. So then what I have to go to in order to see what's going on is I need to go to a separate monitor. And I like the ones like this that are 5 inches or 7 inches. They're small, they're compact. I actually have one that hides in my workbench right in front of me, so that when you're looking from the camera from the side and I've got a camera down over the top of me, you can't see this. But I can see it, and I can tell if my hands are in the frame or if they're not. If they drift out, I can see it and I can bring them back in. So monitors are very helpful. I have at least one for each camera, so that depending on where I have to put them, I can always tell what's going on. Okay, so that's kind of monitors. And the monitors can be had for all kinds of different prices. I think I'm on this camera. The next thing I want to talk about is lighting. Lighting makes all the difference in the world in your videos. And the newest thing out there, of course, is LED lighting. Now, you don't need to go and buy some super expensive light. This is one that mounts on a camera, and it's not all that expensive. I think it's only 40 or 50 bucks, and it puts out a lot of light, okay? I used this one this afternoon in shooting a video for Train Masters, and this was my highlight. The light that goes behind the guy, you know, and lights his shoulders and the back of his head, sets him off from the background. So this one works very, very well. And like I say, for only 40, 50 bucks. The other thing you can do, I found these, they were on sale at Lowe's, and they're puck lights. They're made to go on a headboard of a bed or in a closet or something like that. I put a little 1/4-inch T-nut on the back so I can mount it on a stand, and this thing puts out an awful lot of light for a little LD. Excuse me. If you were doing something where you were building a model and you wanted to highlight that light and get that light down right on the model, this thing would be absolutely great. There's a lot of these that cost $1,000 that'll concentrate that light down. This one costs like $5. So not bad. You can do anything you want to. Just think a little bit. The newest thing out there, of course, are the LEDs, and these are spotlights. You can get them in either a spotlight, excuse me, got hiccups, or a floodlight. This is an old-fashioned reflector, just like the photographers used to use, but this one's just a clip one. It's a cheap one. I think this thing might cost $5 or less, and the light was $10 or less. So for that little bit of money, I've got a really nice floodlight that I can direct and get light onto my subject to light up for my production. And lighting and sound will make the difference between really great video and mediocre video. So it pays to go online, read a little bit, learn a little bit about how to light and how to make things stand out and how to look much better on your video. The other thing I did this summer is I discovered a thing called the world's longest yard sale. Starts in, I think, someplace around Detroit or Chicago, and it goes all the way down to South Alabama. It's 600 and some odd miles, and it's 4 days of just absolute wall-to-wall shopping. I think every house on this one route that this yard sale follows, it follows one highway through the Midwest. Every yard must have a sale out in front. It's just incredible. You can't drive 50 feet without having to stop. And I needed some tripods. So I set a rule that I was not going to buy a photographic tripod for more than $5. And every tripod I got was $5. So I have 3 new tripods now, most of them pretty sturdy. These will certainly hold my lightweight camera. They will hold lighting very, very well. They'll hold scrims or flags. Now, quick word on scrims and flags. Flags are a solid object, normally black, normally anything from a foot to 2 feet or so, and you put them in to block the light. If I had harsh light coming in here, I might want to shade it off, so I'd put a flag in. If I wanted to soften that light and make it not quite so strong, excuse me, got to get a drink, then I would scrim. Now, scrims are kind of expensive. You can go to the theatrical supply house, and I'm sure that there's one in your city, especially if you're in a bigger city. This is a Roscoe. There are other makes. This is a little fan card that has all kinds of, let's go to closer view so you can see what's going on. Need to follow my own advice and get this up here where you can see it. This has all kinds of them in here, and these are light balancing. They'll change tungsten to fluorescent, fluorescent to tungsten as you shine lights through them. They have reflectors. They have colored lights here. I can light a scene. This is how the movies do it. We light a scene absolutely perfectly with, okay, get these to separate, with perfect lighting, just like you're seeing me now. But when I don't know if I can get this to do it or not. When I put the blue in front of that, it looks like it's dark back here behind that. Get my hand in the right place. And that's how they do it. They light everything normally, then they use a scrim and they make it look like it's night. If you ever wondered how the actors can see in the middle of the dark, that's how they do it. But anyway, scrims. You know what also works extremely well as a scrim? Is a Kleenex. We couldn't normally do this because of the hot lights that we used to use. But now with the LEDs, you can actually take paper, thinner paper, tissue, whatever works pretty well. Some of the fiberglass that we use sometimes to make our roofs on our buildings, that works extremely well. Lots of things that we can use to scrim or just to soften that light, to diffuse it a little bit, make it not quite so harsh and bright right out on somebody. The other thing that you might want to take a look at as you go along, excuse me, is clamps and light holding devices. Turn it on your other camera here so you can see. This is one that's an articulated arm, and this thing has 3 different locks here. So I can unlock that, swivel it, it turns around, does almost anything. And I can put flags, scrims, lights in almost any position. Used one of these this afternoon when I was shooting. They're really handy. The other thing is you'll see advertised gaff tape. This is not duct tape. This is gaff tape. And it is extremely strong. It has a cloth, very thick cloth. It's very, very adhesive. I have seen them hang $10,000 movie cameras with this, It's absolutely amazing stuff. It's strength, the way it sticks and the way it holds up. But that's sold online as well. And I thought I had a piece of trick line here, but I don't see it. Anyway, there's some stuff called trick line. It's just black cord, about 1/8 of an inch in diameter. And I bought a 600-foot roll here not too long ago, and I just cut off what I need. The nice thing is it's black, it doesn't show, and it's extremely strong. It's a good type of string. Okay, so what I want to do is, let's go with a mix. I said I'd do a mix when we go into the other room, so we'll transfer that. I'll give you a little bit, hopefully. Come on, do it. Come on, thank you. Didn't want to make the swap for me. Come on, make the swap. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully you're looking at the layout and seeing me now.
Yes.
Hope. Okay, so I talked about the fact that it's okay to stand here and talk about what I'm doing, but if I'm going to take this figure and put it here on this loading dock, you're not going to see that very well. Even though I'm not doing it out here and hiding things from you, still it's pretty hard to see. So what you really want is, this thing's just not going to transform for me, is it? There we go. We want to be able to see that. If he'll stand up, lean him against the wall there. Yeah. And you can kind of see what's going on. And that to me is a key element, that we're able to show exactly what's going on as we do the work on our layouts. I said I would do a tour, so we're going to do a little bit, if we can get the cameras to work here. There we go. Most of you have not seen, and I'll swing around here a little bit, have not seen this part of the layout of late. I think I want to get this thing to tilt down a little bit. There we go. Have to put up with my cameras moving around because they don't have camera people. I built, I started to build this on one of my videos that's on line right now. And that's going to be my next project and my next video. As soon as I'm back from Amherst, I'll begin to finish out this street and this street. I don't know if I did this one on a video. I think I did. This is from Kent Hurley. It's his Phillips 66 gas station. And I built that up, and it's ready to go here on my scene. I'm going to have a gas station, city park, and this is going to be all cemetery. Back up there in one abandoned warehouse. And I think a lot of you saw, play cameraman for a minute. I think a lot of you saw some of this scene on Trainmasters, and I'll dolly over here so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. That's a scene that we did on Trainmasters. And the only thing that I've added, I'm going to dolly back over here. Oops, what did I do? Lose my contact?
Yep.
You do that. Why did you go dead on me? Come on.
Looks like you might have pulled the plug.
Yeah, I think I hit the. All right, let's see what I did here.
Well, I tell you what, we can't do a show without some kind of technical difficulty because everything's been going really good up to
that point. Yeah, of course.
Up to now.
No, I don't know what's dead on me though. It came out down here, I bet. Was that? No. I can't tell. There we go. Now you're back on. Okay, yeah. The only thing I've added, and I'll use my finger here. I've added this motel, which is from Walters. I bought a couple of extra of their buildings that go with it. And if I can move now without dropping my connection, try and show you this thing in the corner. There we go. This is from, and I won't be able to do it though. Need a different camera. Okay, I'm going to talk about this real quick, and I'll swap this around and show you a little bit of what this is where you go crazy over cameras, just like you do in photography. Video's no different. So I'll swap around here a little bit, hopefully, if I can find my camera. There we go. Wow, it makes him look like a real hero. Show you what I'm looking at here. It's camera 4. Go up there. Okay, so what you're looking at now is one of the 3 cameras that I have that are matched. These are Panasonic AG-AF 100s. They're interchangeable lenses. And what we have on here is what they call a cine lens, C-I-N-E. This lens is fixed. It is not zoom. This is a 10 millimeter. It's super wide. That's why you were seeing most of the layout when I first walked in. My front control here, and I'm going to go back to it now that you know what you're looking at. There we go. The front control here is focus, and hopefully I can bring it back into focus. Is that looking pretty good, Johnny? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the back, you're going to love this, is wide open, or I can stop it way down. And it's very, very smooth. It does not move in clicks like a photographic lens. It's been what they call declick, so it rotates extremely smoothly as you turn it around. And I really like it. It does a super job as a wide angle lens, but unfortunately, that's what it does. It's fixed. You cannot change its position. So we'll try and do this camera, and I'm going to do a little bit of a move here, which is totally going to drive somebody to upchuck probably from lunch the way I'm moving around. I'll try and get this shot in here. If I can get it to do it. Oh, come on. Quit sticking on me. What are you doing? I'm so hung up here, but I am. So, oh no. Oh. Sorry about that. Get cables tangled. I can't move my camera like I want to. There we go. Maybe it'll go now. Okay, much better. Now this one has a zoom lens on it, so we'll try and zoom in on that little guy. That was a present from one of my friends here in Kansas City. That's a derelict car, and that Larry Patch did that, and he did an absolutely fantastic job. But that's going to set behind, zoom back out so you can tell where it's going to go. It's going to set behind my motel there. So that'll be my scene kind of as you come in the door. Off to your right. And then the guys on the Hangouts have been talking about Menards. Well, I'm trying to keep Menards in business. The can't think of it. Sauerkraut there. I'm going to turn into a pickle place, probably going to be Heinz. I always wanted to build one of those O-scale Heinz pickle cars with the 3 vats on it, or 4 vats, whatever it is. So we're going to put that in there. But that's the yard all moving down that side. A lot of these buildings were done from Pat Harriman's book. Those of you that haven't seen that, it's a fantastic book. Specifically, this guy is one of his. This guy is not, I don't believe, but Overholzer that you were looking at earlier is out of his book. It's, I think it's called Stone and Masonry Structures. Available online from Pat Harriman. Pat Harriman is the guy who does all of the drawings in the center of the NMRA magazine nowadays. Excuse me. Another Menards building here he's got for Christmas. This one is, I think, MTH, as is this one. Scratch built one over here that was on the cover of RMC some 20 odd years ago. Excuse me, a Woodland Scenes building back there. And I'm going to have an oil complex. We'll try and zoom in on that so everybody can see it. Let me know when you're tired of this. Let's see if I get a focus. Not easy to do. There we go.
Yep, there you go.
I'll put it on auto and see if it'll do better for me. Anyway, that's going to be my oil refinery back there. It is, I think it's MTH that did that oil refinery. It's an actual floating tank, and it does the top of the tank there does move up and down. I don't know if I'll go ahead and animate it or not, but it does work. And then if we come around, sitting back there behind that picture, that's actually a picture of the ice plant. And the ice plant is back here. Got the 2 buildings on it already, but we'll come in and we'll see if we get this to focus again. Focus on my picture guy. There we go. Guys are loading ice. So we'll have ice platform there. Working at some point. Like I say, yeah, I'll do a little more and then I'll tell you what my thinking has been here lately. Because I have changed a little bit. If I don't pull my cord out here. Yep. Come on, cords. Oh, man. Never seen anything get so tangled up. Okay. We'll move out a little bit here and see what else we can find. I don't lose my connection in the process. This is the slow-moving part of the show. This is the scene that we did as a part of Trainmasters, and the only thing I've added here, see if I can get this thing to stay up without falling off again. I'm having a heck of a time with cords here, and I shouldn't. Okay, so what I've added here, I don't know who put it out, but several years ago, one of the Mint people or whatever put out a, let's see if I can move up even a little bit further. Put out a house moving van. So I think you can tell there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Back, whoops. There we go. Darken it down a little better. But I've got the truck out in front. This was a scene that we built as a part of the TV show, but I've added this guy in here now. I'll try and finish up that building. I've done a little bit more to some of the sides here. This is, again, is a Kent Hurley smokehouse, and I think I may put it out beside my pig barbecue there. It came with this smokehouse, but I kind of like Kent's a little bit better, a little bit smaller, so we'll do that. Then I went to the casting bench inside, and oops, sorry about that, jumping all over the place. Soften my lock over here. Softened it too much. So I cast all of the air conditioners that you see here on top. They're in clear, so forgive that, but once they're painted, they'll look like pretty good air conditioners up there. And I think I've got a pallet or something laying up on top of the other building. Do that. Lux and Mercantile is not done yet. It's kind of like it was when we had the TV show. I also had that on one of my YouTube channels. Some of us get kind of cutesy now and then. I'm trouble moving my dolly here smoothly.
Yeah, I got the M&M man.
There we go. My M&M man's up there on the top of my Sunshine Biscuit Company. And then the far side over there is all the main yard. Runs along that entire side. And it actually takes 2 operators. One switches over on this side, one switches over on the far side. They go east and west out of that yard. Anyway, that's kind of the layout at this point. I should say that one thing, and I talked with Johnny about this. Let's see if I can go back to this other camera. And I talked to several other people along the way as we've done various shows on the internet. I was really discouraged with the overall, I think I'm on, yeah. I was really discouraged with the overall of this because I've got an awful lot of scenes. Everything was brought up almost immediately. I got all the bench work in. I did all the track work. This is totally different than any other railroad that I've ever done because normally I've always done a railroad that had floor-to-ceiling scenery, and you literally walked up the canyons, and I did narrow gauge Colorado railroads. I really thought that John Allen had the right idea in doing the floor-to-ceiling scenery. That takes an awful lot of time, and it takes a lot of thousands of pounds of plaster to make mountains that are that big. And I got kind of tired of doing that kind of narrow gauge. So this is ON30, but I'm actually running in Kansas City. I'm replacing the standard gauge railroad, and I'm moving freight around within Kansas City, which is totally fictitious, but then nobody can really rivet count on me either. But nonetheless, I'm trying to do big city railroading here. So it's a total departure from what I've done for almost 50 years before this. And I walk in here and I look at this, and it's all up to this stage, and it's all saying, okay, detail me. And it becomes totally overwhelming. And so what I've come up with lately is that as soon as Amherst is over, like I said, I'm going to start back in the corner with the city scene. And that will be the focus of what I'll do. I'll do probably one house at a time, and detail it and put it on, and then I'll talk about how to detail the street. And hopefully, as I do that, I will be able to finish out. And let's turn this thing so you get a better view. No sense in talking about something that you can't see. It's not looking too bad there. What I want to do then is go ahead and detail all this city scene, detail all of this. This is kind of like the area where my grandmother had her house down in Kansas City, or in Kansas City actually. And I want to kind of make it look like it was when I was a kid. We all go back in and we model what we knew when we were kids. A little bit of reliving. But that's what I'm going to try to do here.
What era is that, Miles?
What's that?
What era? What year?
Well, I don't know. Everybody always says you have to match the cars, you have to match the signs, everything to era. I don't know that I'm going to be that particular this time. I would like to be around the 60s. I'm running all diesels. I'm not running any steam in here this time. I have a lot of S-scale diesels that are being modified to run as ON30, which is a pretty easy modification for the S-scale helper S9s, which is SW9s, which is what I'm running. And then at some point, and actually we're already there, I already have my card boxes up. You're not looking at one now, but these are the cards that I use for operation. And this is off of Gary Hankins, who was here this afternoon. We're going to do a whole segment and train masters on how to use his card system, which I think is really a good system. But at any rate, we've already tried one operating session here, which was a totally flop, total failure. I tried to move just about every car on the railroad, and I don't know, I've probably got a couple hundred cars on here, a lot more than I was used to using at the narrow gauge. And that was a big mistake. What we need to do is move like 5 cars in each area and shuffle those around and leave the others set and not move them every time. It was just too much equipment to move in a 2-hour session. But live and learn, you know, I make mistakes. We learn from it and we correct. And the next operating session, we'll only try and move maybe 5 or 6 cars per man. It takes 5 people to run the layout. There are 5 peninsulas here. And I think it's a lot of fun, but it's going to take a while before we get scenery for these guys to switch cars into some of the buildings and that kind of stuff, because I'm going to go a little slower here for a while than what I was trying to do originally. But at any rate, that's kind of the layout tour. I hope at the very first that we kind of inspired people to take the bull by the horns and make some videos. Just realize, and I had to realize this myself, I'm not the focus of the video, the model is. And anytime you make your videos for promotion of the hobby or promotion of your skills, I mean, people are going to know and they're going to remember you. Oh, you're the guy that invented the whatever technique, but you don't have to be on camera 100% of the time. Put that model on and give a really good explanation of how that model needs to be built. That will sell your videos far more than just you being there and talking about it. A lot of close-ups, a lot of detail. I didn't talk about music. I found out when I was getting ready to do this show, that's a big problem. A lot of people like to have music in the background as they do their videos. I've looked all over the internet and there are hundreds of ads out there that say royalty-free music. Well, yes, but they're being very literal in their interpretation of the word royalty. You don't pay again and again and again, but I did not find any of them that would give you the music for free. they were anything from $35 all the way up to $50 or $75 for that one download. That's all you pay for. You get it after that, but it's a kind of a high price to pay. As Johnny was saying, he uses Pinnacle. I use iMovie and Final Cut. I have used Avid, and I don't think Avid has this feature, but iMovie and Final Cut, Pinnacle, excuse me, a lot of the programs that you can use to make your videos that you're going to edit at your computer after you've shot all your footage and you've loaded it and put it in, they have free music as a part of their programs. And take advantage of it, because getting it off the internet is probably going to cost you unless you really need a very specific melody line to put underneath what you're doing. I would say, try and be happy with what they give you, and not go out there and shop.
Yeah, YouTube has a somewhat of a decent selection. You go to YouTube Creator. Yeah,
yes.
You click on your icon and that comes up. Click on Creator and go into the Video Manager, and you'll find their free music there. And it lasts anywhere. Their songs run from about 1 to 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and then you can always loop them. You can put them on so they just continue to run, especially if you've got them on a low level, which you really should have. You don't want to, dominate your conversation or what you're doing with the model. But you put them on a low level, people don't realize that they're listening to the same song again and again. And I do want to give one quick shout out to my best friend, John Lawrence. He wrote the music for Back to the Basement on Train Masters. He's written a lot of songs for me and melodies that I use on some of my videos. So not all of us are blessed with having a musician as a best friend, but I certainly want to tell John thank you for all the help that he's given me on some of my videos.
I got a question here from Phil Wyman.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to have to spell this guy's last name. Of course, you probably do know him. He's here in Kansas. Jim, Eudally.
Yeah, Udaley.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Phil's question is, he's got Chesapeake, Ohio Railroad. And if so, you know him. Can you show from there? I'll do a show from there sometime, please.
Actually, he is, I believe, the next up railroad on Train Masters.
Okay.
So I would not want to do it right away because I don't want to take away from Barry's coverage. First of all, I won't shoot it near as well as what Barry would do. His is a really high-end production. But I also don't want to distract from, Barry does have me as one of the hosts for his shows as well. So I really can't do that. But yes, it's an absolutely fantastic railroad. I've operated on it several times. Just talked to Jim last week, I think it was right before Christmas. But he has an absolutely phenomenal railroad, and watch for it on Train Masters. That's the best thing I can say at this point.
Okay, that sounds good. You got another show coming up in Train Masters I'm waiting on now.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a whole series of building a layout from the planning, bench work, structures, scenery, all the way through detailing and operations. And that will start in January and run for 10 consecutive months.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
I hope so.
All right, Miles. Yeah, so much for the 1 hour show.
Yeah, I don't know what we've run, but
almost hour and a half.
Oh, great.
And
France probably gone to bed already.
Yeah, we've had a lot of viewers in here too. A couple of them were asking about just doing entry level type videos. I would say get a handy cam, like you were showing us, that one that you're shooting right there at your studio desk.
Yes,
that's what I use. They work great. You can pick those up for Christmas time. You use around 150 for a good decent camera. I bought mine 2 years ago now. It was like a $150, $160 camera. Got it for $100.
I do an awful lot off of eBay on that kind of stuff. Yeah, and it's good stuff.
Yeah, those handy cams work really well. They're lightweight. So you can use tabletop tripods with them. I plan on getting another one so I can have kind of like a multi-view.
Hmm.
Yeah, where I can have them set up two different ways and put them in the videos, shooting it that way.
Yeah.
Now, somebody did ask in here about what we were using. What we use here on YouTube to do the streaming is we use OBS, which is Open Broadcast Studio. Seems to be a really great software. Little bit of a learning curve. I mean, I know nothing about this, so I had to watch the YouTube videos. There's a lot of them out there on OBS, you know, telling you how to use it. They break it down into individual parts, which was really great. The software is free.
Hmm.
They have 3 different versions. Of course, I'm using the free version here. Uh, Barry, when he does the live show once a month, he's using OBS also. Andy uses it too. Works great, and got a lot of good features to it. They do have a free version. That's what we're using here. Then they have 2 other versions you can buy. And they do, of course, when you buy them, they add some extra features to them that I think would really be a lot more than what you really need for these kind of broadcasts here. But it seems to be working really good. Well, I think that's pretty well kind of covered it there.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out for Andy Crawford. He's the one that came up with the idea of taking the hands-on clinics like Fran and I have been doing for many, many years and putting them on video. I really think that's the future. And that's why Fran and I kind of want to be in on the ground floor of this broadcast, because it's a whole lot better, in my opinion, to have the chance of reaching several hundred or 1,000 people or more with a clinic, rather than to go to some town and put on a clinic for 50 people or 25 people at a time. And I think we really will promote the hobby much better by doing it through these videos with the YouTube model builders and live clinics and buildings. So I would encourage you to come to that clinic by turning in on your computer. You can write questions and say, hey, I'm having trouble putting wall A to wall B. You know, what do you do about it? How do you recommend that we do it? And we will answer those questions right then as we're building it. I have 2 kits. I'm going to have one that I call the Hero that will be finished, and then I'll have another one that I'm going to build right with you as we do that show. So great opportunity to learn and build and get maybe a kit that you can use for your railroad.
Yeah, another good thing is they're recorded shows, so it's kind of like a book. You can keep
That's right.
going back and referencing, you know, certain parts of it that you want to do. So
That's right.
that makes it really nice. Well, Miles, I appreciate it. It's been a really good show.
Thank you.
I definitely learned a few things.
Definitely wasn't the total layout tour, but hopefully maybe in another year, get this Amherst thing out of my way, I'll be able to do a lot more work in here and have a lot more scenery that we can look at and have some details that we can kind of appreciate. Plus, we'll have some videos that'll explain it as we go along.
Yeah. I think everybody's going to like those hands-on. I'm hoping they will. Well, again, thank you very much, Miles.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to everybody for watching.
And we're going to go ahead and cut to the splash page, and I'll do my little talky-do. So if you want to go ahead and kind of break down, you can do that, because I'm on the splash page now.
All right.
I appreciate everybody coming in tonight and watching the show. We've had a good show with Miles. He was talking on video equipment, you know, the do's and don'ts of some of it and what his trials and tribulations have been. I certainly learned a number of things myself. So I want to say thank you for coming in. Be sure and go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com. There you'll find the schedules. We'll be posting up the 2017 schedule. It'll cover the first 6 months of the year, and you'll see when shows are going to be on. Like I announced earlier, the Tuesday night show, to help the staff out and make it more convenient for them, because all of this is done by volunteers. So I definitely want to keep them happy. So the Tuesday night show is going to be 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time now. So it's 1 hour earlier than what we broadcast this year. So be sure and check your time zones so you'll be on time for the show. And hey, if you do miss it, not a problem, because we do record all our shows, and you'll find them on our YouTube channel. They are in playlists for you, so it won't be too hard to find the shows and find the episode that you wanted to watch. And also there on YouTubeModelBuilders.com, you can sign up for email notification on the e-magazine when it comes out. JD and his crew do a great job on that. Thursday night shows, as you know, are every week. So, and yeah, let us know if you like the earlier times, and we'll see about changing it around. I'm sure you, none of us here in the team will gripe about that. We'll probably like that a little better anyway. So, I was just trying Tuesday night show first, see how it's going to work, how people take to it. So. Anyway, appreciate you coming in tonight. This is the last show for 2016 for the Tuesday. We do have the Thursday show coming up. Yeah, this Thursday. It will be the last one also of this year. So, want to say I hope hopefully you had a good Christmas. And for the Tuesday night crew and staff, we're going to say Happy New Year. And we shall see you next year on Tuesday. So y'all have a good rest of 2016. Look forward to 2017. Thank you.